Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. If your property gets damaged by a storm, it's nice to know there's a Kentucky Farm Bureau insurance agent in your hometown who's committed to making things right. Rain or shine, you can count on the great coverage and personal service you expect from Kentucky's insurance company. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
You know, it's going. I'm sweating a lot.
It's so hot.
It's been really hot.
Like we made a joke about like the World Cup a podcast or two ago, and I was making fun of them. These European countries, bunch of losers hanging out in the rain. They don't know heat. And then it happened, and I was like, no, this is hot.
They're like, getting it.
I'm kind of with this. Is really hot.
Yeah, there was a game that was like 107 on the field.
That's so hot.
That's really hot. I have a question for you. I have my wife and I battle over the thermostat essentially all year.
Okay.
This is our number one thing. So, you know, there's people that I think would rather have really hot weather over really cold weather and vice versa.
Okay.
So, are you a hot weather person? Like hot? Or would you rather it be super like crazy frigid cold? And why?
Okay. This feels very close to home given the winter and the summer we've had.
Yeah.
Like I feel like both are in
the zone.
Close memory.
Yeah.
I'm hot over cold. Because I know there's the argument you can always add more layers and you only take so many off. I disagree to the point of you can always keep adding layers. Like at some point you're going to look like the kid on the Christmas Story and your nose is still cold.
You're not going to look like the kid on Christmas Story. You're going to look like what's his name in The Shining, Frozen. Jaw.
You're stuck that way.
You're going to turn into an ice cube. I don't
like
care
when your breath is so hot on your like face covering that when you pull it up so you can talk to someone at a drive-through, that then it freezes like around your lips like immediately.
Cold.
I can't. If wind chill's close to zero, and I got a lot of warm clothes. I'm a big Carhartt family or whatever brand, Dickies. I don't care what your brand is. I will wear so many layers. It's so flippin' cold.
I am the opposite. I cannot hot weather. I do not like sweating. I sweat in the winter. So it's
so
a
you're just like
disaster.
super warm-blooded in life.
I'm one of those people. And that's what, my wife and I fight over the thermostat. So she's cold every day.
Aren't we all?
Love her. Every single day.
That is a gender stereotype that traditionally tracks.
So it's like turn the thermostat up, turn it down, back and forth. We have to have cars that have the dual climate so she can crank like literally heat on her. And I'm in full like.
So like do you do a lot outside when it's cold?
No. I mean, not really.
Because I think that's the difference, too. Like, you're doing stuff when the hot is happening.
Yeah. I don't
you're
know.
outside.
Like, I go outside from the heat, and you just get smacked in the face with the cold or the heat, right?
Uh-huh.
I'd much rather it be cold. I would much rather just, like, put on some layers, some boots and jeans or whatever that needs to be to save your legs, depending on how cold it is, right?
Boots and jeans.
Boots and jeans, I can probably get it. But I like that a lot better. I can't with
Okay, here's the difference.
Hot
like,
weather.
I would say if I'm dressing for work, like that kind of thing, like you're quick in and out, you're going to do something real quick and coming back, I probably like winter because I can add enough jackets where I'm warm enough to get in and out. But like if I'm outside in it, I would much rather us just agree. Like I looked at Peyton all week this past week and been like, I'm gross. And he's like, yeah, once we start, we're just soaking wet with sweat. We're just going to stay out here till we're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I'm cold, I just am annoyingly the 80th person that's like, I'm cold.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just like with this heat, I just reminded always like I don't like this.
Are you a bad sweater too?
Oh, I have no hair. Okay, so.
What does that have to do with your sweating?
No, your hair does something. It catches all that sweat pouring out of the top of your head. It's like you put a hose just on the top of my head.
It's just a faucet?
And it just runs off my head. It's nonstop. So like if I go outside, if I'm cutting grass, right, just doing some yard stuff, that kind of thing, 20 minutes. I'm just like I'm a mess. And I'm like, no, I don't want any part of this. I don't know if that makes me a wuss one way or the other. I don't know. I'm a much rather bundle up, just deal with it. Now, I don't want the 2 foot of snow that maybe sometimes comes with that cold weather. But
yeah. Well, here's the other thing about the heat. Like, I also don't mind it if I don't have stuff to do. Like, but it never does that. It comes the heat wave like during the 4th of July.
Yeah, you're gonna be outside. You're
a baseball tournament. The fair setup. That's my favorite. My favorite is it is always scorching hot. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the fair.
I'm setting it up.
And then Thursday, the fair starts. Everybody's like, well, thank goodness so the people can come. And I'm like, that's cool. I lost 5 pounds in sweat yesterday looking at Freddie. I wasn't even doing anything. I was just looking at them setting him up.
And the day right after the fair.
It's right
the
clean out day. And they're like, it's because the doors are open. And I'm like, no, it's because it's 9 bajillion degrees outside. Yeah.
Well, it's
This is a good farmer podcast. You know why? We talked about the weather.
They talk about the weather. We have a great farmer on today.
Yeah.
We have been, leaning into patriotic things, talking to some folks in different ways. We had the trivia thing. It was kind of fun. We're just going to kind of lean in that. We have a veteran here today, a great guy. We both had no idea how old this guy was. It was kind of funny at the end of it.
At the very end after we finished recording.
Man.
I said something. I don't even know how it came up. He said he had 5 daughters. And I was like, oh, how old are they? And when the first one was in her 30s, I had to stare at him twice because I didn't think the man looked old enough to be my father.
Yeah,
I'm in my 30s, and I was very confused.
I think he said 36, and if he would have told me he's 36, I'd have believed him. So, yeah. But a great guy. He was highly recommended by Donovan Pigg, a former guest and star of this podcast. A great guest we've had in the past. But, yeah, we get to learn a lot about him. Quite a life. Quite a life. A lot of different paths have brought him to Bullitt County and being farming there. So I think folks are going to really like this podcast. And hopefully you can get out of the heat, turn on some AC, and listen to a good interview today.
All right, let's get to Jewett. I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
Let's get rural. Well, I want you to know that you have been highly recommended by Jake Settles and Donovan Pigg. So there's a chance I either know a lot more about you than you want me to, or just one side. I don't know what it is, but I actually got your official recommendation from Kelly Padgett with K-Card.
I know Kelly.
So yeah. So anyway, all jokes aside, all 3 wonderful people. So we're just pumped to have you here. It'll be great.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah. So. Just tell us a little about your ag background. What have you always been in agriculture? Is this multi-generations? Where'd you get into it?
So I really didn't. I wasn't born into agriculture. My father had a brain aneurysm when I was 10 years old, and at the time we lived in Winchester, Kentucky, and so he was not in real good shape, and they sent me down to Oneida Baptist. So I pretty much was at Oneida Baptist from the time I was 10 till I was 18. And while I was at Oneida, I got to be where I enjoyed going to the farm and on the operation down there in the day-to-day and just stayed involved in it. Some summers I would stay down there for the entire year and work on the farm. So worked under the farm manager down there. His name was Jack Tillman, and we all called him Pop. He was kind of like our father figure. So we raised beef master cattle, and we run a big hog operation as well as row crops down there. So kind of where I got brought into the agricultural world. I've been around farms. My great-grandfather was a butcher and raised cattle in southern Indiana, and they had moved from the Hardin County area to southern Indiana years ago. So there was 3 brothers. They were all butchers, and they all went to southern Indiana and set up businesses there and did that. So I'd been around it most of my life, but, not really until I got to Oneida did I really get to where I was doing it every day and working on the farm. So I learned a lot, and I did most of my growing up there. So when I graduated from Oneida, I guess I had an English teacher that told me that she didn't see me going to college, which is I intended on and wanted to be a vet the whole way through. And she said, I think you're going to have a tough time doing it. And I got mad at her and I joined the Navy. So I was like, all right. So the next day I came in, I said, hey, I'm swearing in tomorrow. So I'm done. I'm shipping out. So Graduated in 91 from there, joined the Navy, went to San Diego, California to MCRD to boot camp, went through A school and C school, went through dive school, ended up going to Long Beach, California. And from there, I picked up a ship, made multiple deployments off the West Coast. We ended up with that ship going to Bremerton, Washington, which is outside of Seattle. We ended up decomming this AOR that I was on. And then from that point, I was transferred from there down to Metairie, which is just across the water from New Orleans. So we were there at Avondale Shipyard, was there on a pre-com ship I guess I was down there for about 9 months. And left there, we transferred up to Little Creek, moved off of there to another ship, and then I come out of the service and came back home in 98. So I spent from 91 to 98 in the Navy. You know, when I left Oneida, I guess it was a thought of I didn't want to be a coal miner. Didn't want to drive a truck for a living. Everybody knows that there's a lot of dope growed down there, and I wasn't going to do that either. So I was like, I don't really want to be a farmer either. I've kind of got that out of my crawl. So by the time I got out of the service, I was ready to go back. We came back, and I moved to Shepherdsville and ended up buying a house there. About 3 years later, 2000, we bought the first section of the farm that I live on now. So we bought 10 acres and had a house on it and just kind of started from there. I started with a pretty small purebred Angus and worked on doing some AI and some embryos and raising some seed stock. And it didn't take me long to figure out I didn't really want to play in that world because it was a pretty expensive world to play in. So, and as time went on, we kept growing. I had some commercial cattle. And so I went back to looking for an eared cow, which is kind of what I grew up with at Oneida. So I looked for beef masters for a pretty good while. There was a farm that was over on the other side of I-65 there in Shepherdsville, and for years you could drive down the road and see the red cows always on the road there. And so I was like, well, you know, it's an eared cow. I don't have any idea what it is. And so I went over and knocked on the door, and Foster Sanders opened the door, and we talked, and I spent the entire day walking around with Foster. And when we got done, we walked up the barn. He said, there's 2 heifers there. They're ready to breed. He said, I'm going to make you a deal. He said, I'll make you a really good deal on these 2 heifers, and I've done one of 2 things. I either run you away from Santa Gertrudis cattle or I brought you into them. So I guess that's kind of where it started. And then his son-in-law, his son-in-law kind of took over the operation when Foster passed away, and his grandson. So I'm really good friends with his grandson now. And I serve on the Santa Gertrudis board and I'm in my second term. So this is my second 4-year term on the board.
Okay, I got to go back. There's like 80 things I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
You have a very cool life. Okay, Oneida, how do I say it? Oneida. Okay, for those like me that don't know what that is and kind of give me a little more background on that.
So Oneida Baptist was a boarding school set up, historically wise, I'm going to say it was set up in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And they actually set it up. Mr. Burns set the school up to have a place for the kids in the mountains down there that weren't getting an education. So it was actually built to bring a better education to the kids in the mountains.
Wow,
and
okay.
it's about 40 miles out of Manchester, headed over kind of toward the Leslie County line.
Okay.
So that's what it was built for. And then as time went on, you had a lot of missionaries and stuff that had children that were overseas. So it became a boarding school, and you had overseas students. So, I mean, I went to school with kids from all over the world.
Wow.
So. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So that kind of upbringing, I mean, that's a unique, it sounds like you kind of went in lots of different directions, almost kind of where your sail took you, I guess, if you want to go there. But like, why do you think, I mean, your life is interesting because it keeps bringing you to new opportunities, and you kind of just take these kind of a unique path. Where does that come from? Do you think that's just accident? Like you just kept kind of unfortunately getting into situations or fortunately getting into situations? Like how does that?
I mean, I think being raised on a farm, you know, I was told by Jack the whole time, you know, he said, you become a master of nothing, but you know, you're a jack of all trades. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, if you're going to survive in this industry, and today this industry is a really tough place to be, I feel like, you know, I mean, we've seen a lot of things happen in this industry over the last, you know, year and a half, 2 years in the cattle industry and what's going on with it. And I actually just returned from the King Ranch and San Jose Cattle Company. We were just down there about 4.5, 5 months ago for our annual meeting, and we got to tour the King Ranch. So, at the time, the screwworm still hadn't crossed the border yet, but that was huge for them because, they're only 60 miles from it. So, we did a lot of talking about that. They talking about weather patterns that are coming in and how they're talking about moving cattle out. They're going to get rid of a lot of cattle this year because the weather patterns are going down. We're already short on cow numbers in the United States, and that's not getting any better.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough industry to be in. I do want to. So the joke I made with Jake, I saw him, Jacob Settles. We were cooking for Cattlemen's this past weekend, and I told him you were going to be on the podcast, and I said the only question I have is why the heck a Gert? I gotta know. So you kind of answered that for me, but for those that have never seen a Santa Gertrudis, and you talk about ear cattle, and the hard part for people like me and you is trying to get out of our lingo, but explain to someone, you bring up King Ranch, you bring up maybe Texas area, what does a Santa Gertrudis kind of look like in compared to maybe the calves they drive past on the road, and then talk about some of the pros of that and kind of why you did bring it here, because we joke about it just because the predominant cattle herd in Kentucky is going to be that Angus cross. But there are some huge pros. My parents are from Louisiana, so my dad loves an ear calf. And so there's some huge pros about eared cattle that you're getting to see the benefits of being in Kentucky, even if you're not in the deep South.
So funny story, Donovan Pig. I'll pick on Donovan for a minute, but when I first started killing cattle and hanging them on the rail, Donovan was doing all the grading across the state. So I called Donovan. I said, "Hey, I'm going to hang Gert cattle on the rail," and I said, "I'm really chasing some really good genetics, and we're genomically testing everything. We're keeping up with the data. I'm getting all this data back, so we're gonna try to improve what we're doing." And Donovan's like, "They're not going to grade. You need to go buy black cows." And I said, "I'm not going to do it. I grew up with an eared cow. This is what I'm going to do." It didn't take me too long to convince Donovan I can make Gert cattle. Make them grade. So I'll poke at Donovan a little bit there. So the Santa Gertrudis breed actually became a breed in 1940. It was bred off the King Ranch. Colonel King was looking for a very tough animal that dealt with the dry heat of Southwest Texas. That was really the reason. So he continually bred milk and shorthorns and Brahmas in order to come up with this breed, and he wanted a lot of maternal instinct in them. So that's what he came up with. In the 80s, we were, and not just the Gerts, but if you look at the breeds of cattle in the 80s, we were looking for pounds on the rail. We weren't looking at grades. We were looking at pounds on the rail. So we made these cows huge. Mm-hmm. And now, we've tried to moderate these frames and take some of the frame out of them. We still are running a larger cow than most, but we have taken a lot of the frame out of them and moderated. But like our cattle in the middle of the day, I've got some black cattle in my herd. They're laying up underneath the trees, and my red cows are standing out in the middle of the field eating. They don't get affected by the heat that much. Not that they don't get into heat stress like anything else. It just doesn't affect them near as much just because they're bred for that. A lot of people said we'd have problems with them in the winter, but I winter them and feed them in the winter just as well, and I really don't have that many issues with them in the winter either. So the reason I went with them was all goes back to Foster. He just kind of put it in my lap, and I'm like, it's an eared breed, and I kind of fell in love with it, so we just kept on going.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. And you talked about hanging them on the rail. For those that don't understand that, you're selling retail cuts, correct? So you're selling beef cuts to consumers?
Yes, ma'am. We're cow-calf all the way to finish.
Perfect. So for people to understand, a larger framed animal a lot of times can take more time to finish. So that's another part people struggle with when you're talking about Santa Gertrudis or something like that. They're like, well, you're never going to want to feed it long enough to get the right quality grading anyway. And so maybe that's Donovan not knowing you had enough stubborn in you to get it done. But seriously, it's different. A lot of us sell our calves at weaning, or we're like me and my husband, we buy them right after weaning and grow them out. But the most expensive pounds, those last ones. So you got to know or do your homework and have somebody like what Donovan's role used to be to help you figure out those quality grades. Talk through why start selling to the consumer? Why not just go to the yard? Why did you start finishing cattle?
Back to my breed. So the biggest issue that I had was I was raising a red, hide-eared cow. Mm-hmm. And I would take it to the yards, and I'd get docked 35, 45, 55 cents on a pound every time. And they were just cleaning my clock. So we started out selling sides of beef. That's how we started. So I was like, you know what? I can put grain on these cattle. I can get them finished. I can sell sides of beef. We're going to figure out how to do this. So that's how we started. And that became, I ended up with a pretty good size customer base, and that customer base continued to ask me, hey, we want to buy some steaks, red steaks, but we got ground beef, or hey, we want some more roast, and we're not on some of the other things. So it's something I thought long and hard about. Went and sat down with an attorney for about 4 or 5 hours and discussed, what the pros and cons were, what my liability was, how to protect myself. So, money well spent by the time that we got done, that's for sure. But so we in the beginning, we set up a small shop and set it up in my mom and dad's garage in the back. And we started selling out of there. And then from there, we ended up building a 24 by 24 building, and it's just continued to grow and grow. 6 years ago, we added another 24 by 24 to the back of it and made a full cut room in it. So we do our own grinds now. We're cutting primals there now. We make our own sausage. We've brought pork in, so we've found a way to bring in Kentucky raised pork. We found a way to bring in Kentucky raised chickens. So we're trying to keep the majority of our products, Kentucky raised. There are some things that we bring in that are not, but I mean, we do try to at least stay on the top side of that and keep the majority of our products Kentucky. So
we actually talked a little bit about this at COVID. You were one of these local farmers trying to make some money with your local product. Talk a little bit about that. And it sounded, you said 6 years ago, it's about around that time. Was that a big part of?
So when COVID happened, the stores didn't have meat. We still had meat. We were killing enough head of cattle with trackside then that, we had some slots and we were filling them. And I mean, Donovan was grading then as well. So, even if trackside couldn't get me in, then I'm leaning on Donovan to find me someplace else in the state. And I'm like, look, I don't care where I got to go. Just find me some kill slots. I need them. So it was pretty crazy for us during COVID because we would open at 3:00. By 2:30, people were lined up in both directions and just waiting to get in the store. And we would run just as hard as we could run till 7 o'clock at night. And I mean, we had 4 people in the store going with everything that they had. And I mean, I was trying to do everything that I could do to continue to bring meat in and not limit people on what they were buying. We ultimately ended up getting there because people just got kind of silly about it for a while. But our business really exploded at that point. Mm-hmm. I mean, COVID, it didn't do good things to some small businesses, but it did crazy things for us.
Yeah, you see that a lot of our roadside markets, they stayed open during those things. They found their way to do that and took advantage of that local food and that kind of thing. So I think what your story keeps leaning into is a lot of resilience. You just kind of take – that's what I meant.
It's the breed. It's the breed. The Gerts are resilient. That's where it all comes from.
Well, it sounded like I was kind of getting there. It was like, sound like you kind of picked one that's kind of like a breed just for you kind of thing. Talk about that resilience from boarding school into the military and those kind of things. Why those choices, those opportunities or whatever happened, and how much did that shape you really to be able to step into this agriculture world and have that resilience?
So, I mean, I enjoyed being on the farm growing up down there at the school. I learned a lot. I would hear Pop say, my children, I cry a lot these days. Or, he'd also come in, he'd say, opportunities everywhere you look. And I was young and really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. But as I get older, I think about that. He could always take something that you thought was horrible, and he would find something good in it. There's always there's a bright side there somewhere. So I think that was instilled into me at a young age. Work ethic was surely instilled into me at a young age. I mean, we fed hogs every morning before we went to school. So we fed hogs. We went and got a shower. We got dressed. We
went to school. Yeah.
And I mean, and then when we got out of school, we went right back to work. Right. And that's what we did. But I feel like, determination. There's times where we had equipment that wasn't that great. We'd take it in the shop, we'd tear it apart, we'd rebuild it, we'd make it work, and we'd do what we had to do. And I don't think that changes today. I mean, if we're in the hayfield or we're out in the pasture or whatever we're doing, if we got a problem, we got to fix it. So, and if you don't stick with it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious on and maybe it's not culture shock. Maybe the military itself is enough of a kind of hit you between the eyes moment that moving from a boarding school for mountain kids, to make it and learn and get that education to going to California. I mean, that just seems like that has got to be the wildest moment. Or are you just so inundated in boot camp that you're like, I don't have time to figure out culture. I'm just trying to make it through this and get to the next part. Like, How was that transition?
Until you got out of boot camp, you really didn't see California.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. You felt California, maybe the heat, but
It could be boot camp anywhere.
Yeah. So until you got out of boot camp, you really didn't see California. But yes, culture shock, absolutely. Mexico. I came from Eastern Kentucky to being in Southern California and Mexico and seeing some of that. So yeah, very, very different. I didn't lose anything in California. I'm good.
We got him back. Do you feel like you stay connected, or do you feel like the farm helped you as you kind of transition back to pedestrian life? Do you feel like, or did you always know you were coming back to do this and it was just kind of just whenever it happened?
So, I feel like with the school, I grew up very structured. The military was very structured. The farm is not structured.
I was about to be really impressed if you were the structured farm. If anyone could do it, I felt like you had the resume to pull it off.
I feel like really on the farm, you always have to be on the fly. Things change constantly. Do we cut hay? Do we not cut hay? Do we move cows? Do we not move cows? And I think that things are always changing. You have to be able to take what you got and run with it, and know that like maybe 2 or 3 hours from now, the whole plan may change, and so my mother does my books. And so that's been kind of interesting because she came from the structured side of Bell, and she did books for Bell. And so she's very black, white, this is how it is. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't work here. And so we go head to head every now and then, but we get it all figured out. So
farming with family.
I've never heard that with all these podcasts we've done.
Nobody ever says
you're
that.
You're the first farmer to come in here and say that.
What?
That family.
Being a little facetious. We get into this a lot. That's normally my question. How do you do it?
How do you pull that off? Well, I think like when you talk about, the different, you said all these structures of these things. How did that maybe that's the different part in farming, but there's a lot of things you learned. You had to. Obviously,
sure.
The agriculture part of your boarding school, but what did you learn through the military that maybe has set you up to take on this crazy world that you're a part of today?
So I wasn't a full-time farmer when I came out. I actually went to work for Nortel Networks when I came. Well, I went to work. My parents, my mom and dad are both retired from Bell. My grandparents on my mom's side are retired from Bell. My biological father worked for Bell Systems. So I came from a telephone family. But so when I came out, my mom and dad had both retired, and they'd opened up a business in Louisville, and they were doing fiber and switch work. So I went to work for them for about 18 months. In the process of that, we were doing some contract work for Nortel Networks, which I got offered a job. And I watched my dad work 10 hours a day, 12, 14 hours at a time. 5-6 days a week. I said that all crazy, didn't I? He worked 5-6 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day. Right. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And so I went over to that side of it. And he makes sure he reminds me of that today.
I was about to say, you really changed that schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't want to do this back then, but now you're doing it. I'm like, yeah. So, but, I watched him do that. I went over to Nortel. Well, Nortel became Wiltel, and Wiltel became Williams Energy, and kind of through the whole thing, and they did away with what I did for them. So I was an emergency response technician and an install technician. So we worked on phone systems from the size of what takes care of cities to what takes care of a small business that's got, 3 people. Mm-hmm. So when I lost my job, I went looking for another job, and I ended up going in with Alltel and getting assigned to Jewish Hospital here in Louisville. So I spent about 26 years at Jewish and U of L working on all their phone systems as well as farming at the same time. So that was the trade that I learned in the Navy. I did a lot of electronics work, video work, alarm system, those kind of things while I was in the service. So I got a lot of that training there.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, that's one thing you definitely learn through the years is that keep working at it kind of personality, right? That you have to be a farmer.
Absolutely.
What are some other? Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. What are some of those traits that you think that you gained in the military life that are really important to being a success in this industry that changes all the time, that moves all the time, that isn't a perfect schedule? What did you bring that really helped a lot?
In the service, you learn to adapt really quick.
Yeah.
That's something that's just there constantly. You always have to learn to adapt. It's ever changing. You're doing things all the time, so you're adapting to whatever comes your way. and figure out what the easiest and best way is to do it, the most efficient way, and keep moving forward. And I mean, I feel like it's the same in agriculture. You're trying to find the most efficient way to do it. Sometimes we don't always take the most efficient way, but
Right.
Well, I think the first time I was told about you was actually because of some of the involvement you do with ag education in the youth. And so when I say one of them, I mean just one of them, because I think you are one of the most active, and I don't mean to make you uncomfortable if that does, but it's so constant. And when Donovan came over to Farm Bureau from being at KDA, that was one of his questions pretty quick once he was a couple weeks in, was like, hey, I've got some of these things on the calendar. I would like to fulfill them this year, but this is really important to me. I'd like to continue to fulfill them. And so whether it's him, whether it's Jake going with the Kentucky Beef Network, it's very constant. It's different age groups. It's different types of classes or kids. And so talk through for me, maybe the why. Like, why do you do it, and kind of what's the goal when you get some of those classes out there to see the farm, or when you go to the rooms to talk to them?
So we do an ag field day and safety day on our farm every year. We have for 6 consecutive years now. And I need Donovan in September too, by the way.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
But we started this out just because I was kind of asked about it, and I've always got a soft place in my heart when it comes to kids and getting kids involved in agriculture. And something that I've learned is Bullitt County, which is where I live, is more and more becoming Louisville. And the city's moving in, the farms are moving out. And there's a lot of kids that are in ag class or FFA or whatever that really aren't exposed to ag. So when we started it, we brought in KDA, we brought in the state vet, we brought in KCA, KBN. We brought Donovan in to do meat grading, and so we set up 8 stations throughout the farm. Our first one was 140 kids. We're averaging about 200 to 235 kids now. And we start at 9 o'clock in the morning. We go to 1:30, and in that day they get to see cow calf, they get to see feeders, they get to see stockers, finishers, and we serve them brisket sandwiches at lunch that are cooked there on the farm. So they're seeing the whole thing. And then while they're there, we've got grain bin rescue there. We've got PTO safety, tractor safety. Our local Farm Bureau sets up there while we're there. We bring them in. So I can pick on them because I'm on my local board as well. So I'm like, hey, I need some help. But, we try to get a village to come together to teach these kids and have a good day. One year we had turnips planted, so we used to plant tillage radishes in the fall. And so we found that purple tops do better in our soil, so we're doing purple tops. So a lot of these kids never seen a turnip. And so we were going out in the field and pulling them up and then taking them and cutting them up and peeling them and letting them try them. And some of these kids never seen a cow before. So it's pretty wild. And then I've had, the San Gertrudis Association has a juniors group called Goals. And every 2 years they take a group of kids somewhere in the United States. And it's an all agricultural leadership based program. So we hosted them one summer. And that was a little different because most of those kids, they're coming from ranches that dwarf anything around here. There's one of those boys that's coming off a ranch that's probably got 20, 30,000 head of cattle. So, and I think they all like Donovan's better than anybody else's on the farm, and that's fine. It's all good.
We were picking on Donovan. We're not being nice to Donovan.
Oh, come on. But, that's something they hadn't seen. They hadn't been able to stand at a cut table and actually be able to handle the meat and look at it and be explained to, why genetics are changing this. And that's something that he does a really good job at. But it's just something that I've just kind of taken, that if I don't teach and we don't give this to the next generation, then who's going to carry this on? We're losing farmers every day.
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit of a pay it forward kind of situation with you. You had this happen to you, right? You had people expose you to this world, and those guys probably had no anticipation you would be a farmer.
No,
they didn't really care. And I think that's what a lot of our farmers understand. It's like, we're not going to necessarily get everybody to become a farmer because of their ag day, but they're at least going to get it a little bit more. Do you feel like this is a pay it forward? Like, you had this for yourself and it meant a lot to you, right? And now it's
absolutely.
Something, yeah.
I do feel like that growing up where I grew up and how I grew up, it all is a product of who I am today. That's for sure. We are a product of where we've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole scenario is really neat. I do want to ask, though, and I don't mean this, my Bullitt County co-host, I apologize, but being in Washington County, where we farm, growing up in Caldwell County in the western end of the state, the urban pressure is not the same. And so I'm not saying that you're Louisville, but as you said, Bullitt County is. I mean, the schools are big, the population's growing, and you guys do have a phenomenal county farm bureau. But I guess my question to you is, talk through maybe the changes you've seen or the growth you've been able to have on your acreage. And maybe that was just as eye-opening to those kids kind of coming from Texas, seeing, maybe it's dwarfs in size, but I mean, the resilience of the area and trying to maintain some farm ground, has that been pretty difficult in Bullitt County for other farmers, like kind of on your border in the area?
Oh, I think it's becoming more and more difficult just because of what's growing out there. I mean, but like for instance, we started with 10 acres. We now have right at 126 acres that are all there. And if you walk out my front door within 200 yards, there's about 4,000 houses.
Jeez.
So, and like if you look at an aerial view of where my farm is, I'm tucked back in. Most people don't know I even exist back there unless they come in the other way. But when you start looking at how many houses are in front of us, yeah, it's pretty staggering. We just had a farm next to us. It runs down one entire side of one end of our farm that's actually going into manufacturing. And so, I mean, we're watching ground bring 80, 90, 100, 120,000 an acre. And, I mean, what do you do? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're seeing that a lot. Traffic is horrible. I mean, I'm trying to go through the middle of downtown Shepherdsville with a 170 horse tractor with duals on it and a 14-foot cutter. It's kind of funny because we talked about this a couple of years ago. We had bought a manure spreader at the Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, and so we hooked it to a truck. And I mean, it was huge. It's 13 feet wide. So we came down Preston with it. Well, in Louisville, they all get off and go in the parking lots and get out of your way, and they were really nice about it. We crossed the Bullitt County line, and they just want to run over top of you. I'm like, come on, people.
Well, I'm one of those Mount Washington people.
Oh, so you just tried to run right over his manure spreader? Is that what you're saying?
I get out of the way. I know better. I work here. I'll get yelled at, bro. No, but you're right. I mean, I think like if I grew up in Louisville. The first big wave of kind of moving out of Jefferson County, but sort of staying in Jefferson County, was actually going to Oldham County and Crestwood area. There's schools exploded, the population out there. And I think right now a lot of that is Bullitt County. We moved down there probably, we're talking about 15, 16 years ago. And it was a half the size.
Yeah.
Of when we went down there. And I always joke, like, we moved down there and now everybody wants to live down there. But
I'm sure.
That's what it was. But they haven't, like, infrastructure wise, road wise, they have not prepared for the growth of that area. So I can't imagine trying to drive something like that down 44 or anything like that.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah, that's fun. But
I mean, do you feel like that's also why your meat business has been able to maintain, though, like your products, because of the population? I mean, is it kind of a two-headed sword? I don't love it, but at least they're buying.
I think my geographical location has a lot to do with what's happened to my business. So I work with RK Catering out of Louisville. Mm-hmm. They do Churchill. So they do the Kentucky Derby Museum at Churchill. So, like, we do all of their burger patties. We do all their smoked bologna. And DeLee and I work together, so I used to take care of everything down at Jim Beam at the kitchen table, and that's kind of where I met DeLee. And so we're not working with Jim Beam anymore, but we're now working with RK. So I do a lot with them. They run the Newton's Farm to Table trailer at the state fair. So that's, as soon as I get through with this rodeo we're putting on this coming weekend, that's our next big thing. So we've got about 5,000 half-pound patties to make, and I think she's got about 1,000 pounds of smoked pork butts that I need to do for her. So I'll be wide open doing that and getting ready for it. But yeah, with us being in this close to Louisville, we're getting traffic from Louisville, we're getting traffic from Shepherdsville, and it has helped us quite a bit.
Yeah, there's got to be those frustrations, but kind of, again, that resiliency. Like, I don't want to say take advantage, but that's exactly what it is.
They're here. Come buy our
right
stuff.
Here, and people love roadside markets, local stuff, and you're right there, right in the middle of it, right?
One thing that it's done for me is it's taught me how much people have no idea what they're putting in their mouth. Mm-hmm. How it's raised, what you feed it, what they've seen, whether it's on TV or read somewhere that's true and not true. And I tell everybody, I spend more time educating somebody about it than I do selling it to them. I mean, it's crazy some of the things that people believe. We used to joke that some of the city kids thought that chocolate milk comes from a brown cow, but I'm telling you, there's people that really believe that.
Uh-huh.
That's the most, I think I've said it on here before. That is the most rural kid. Like, we think that's a joke. Like, we think that's just being facetious. And then you find out there are truly people in this world that are like, but then where's the strawberry come from? Are there pink ones somewhere? Like, and they're dead serious. You're like, ooh.
The Ag Land booth at the state fair.
Yeah.
Folks go to the Ag Land and they're like, what is this about? And then they start asking questions. And people just do not, understand that pork is from that pig. Like that. I had someone ask me that one time at work in Ag Land. Was one of the first years because I got kicked out of the Federation. I'm an insurance guy.
Yeah, we stuck you down here in insurance.
Yeah, but super cool area, and it's a perfect idea to teach agriculture, even if it's just a moment like that. But you get to really do it, on a day-to-day basis with these interactions, just people trying to buy your product, right?
Yeah, and it's not kids there though; it's adults.
Right.
We had a lady come in that wouldn't buy it because it didn't have a barcode on it, and I said, "Look, I don't have a point of sale. I don't have a point of sale service in here, so I don't need a barcode."
Yeah,
but she just didn't understand why I didn't have a barcode on the packaging. We had a lady during COVID.
Would you like the meat, lady?
We had a lady during COVID come in, and she's like, she wanted a cut, and we were out of it. And I said, yeah. I said, we're killing today. I said, so in 14 days, I'll have my next load in. And she said, kill. She said, you kill these cows? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, like dead? And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, yeah, that's how we get them in a package. And she just couldn't believe that. I mean, She just kept on and kept on. And I'm like, how do people not understand that that's how their food comes from?
Well, I've said it over and over again on here. It's the success of the American farmer is why people have no idea.
Yeah, we made it too easy. We made it so easy.
It's so easy that
we're well fed.
That we're so well fed. That's the problem. And as a communication person, that's what I do is fight that problem and try to educate. I mean, I grew up in a city. I knew that. I don't know how that disconnect happens, but it does. And but I think it's like a pat on the back for farmers, but also kind of like how on earth do you not know that something has to die for you to have your meat? It's a wild thing, but we see it and it's again, it's a kind of a compliment in a way if you think of that. It's like that agriculture did so good that people have no idea, and that's a little scary, especially nowadays with so much misinformation. But it is just a tribute to how good agriculture in this country is, that people don't know those basic basic things that seem pretty obvious to somebody.
So go ahead.
And people that grew up rural, I mean, they grew up with it, so it's not like I can remember going to hog killings when I was small at my granny's house, and I mean, everybody would get together and they would kill hogs and they would make sausage and it would get fried and it would get canned, and she'd make souse and everything would get done. The hams would get rubbed down, all of that would get done, and they did it together jointly, and so that's something that you don't see much anymore. It's cutting meat. You don't see very many people cut meat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find the patience when you started having so much consumer interaction? Because you seem very cut and dry. And no offense to the military, but they don't normally come with, exudes of patience for silliness. So you come out of that, you work in, and you're doing farm part-time, and then now consumer walks in and is like, how could you kill that cow to give me this meat? Where do you find the patience? Did you have good mentors? Did you just bite your tongue a lot? I mean, how did you figure it out?
Natural poker face. What do we got here?
You want me to tell you something I've been told my whole life?
Sure.
Experience is a tough teacher. She gives the test first and the lesson last. There's a lot of truth there.
Yeah, you've been...
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are things that I have zero patience with. And then there are other things that I have patience with. And I guess because of the way that I grew up and how I grew up, and the fact that those people took their time and did everything they could do to teach me. And the lessons that I learned, and some of them were very hard lessons learned. The military taught me a lot more. I think that probably made me be where I can do this. And I like teaching. I do. I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy learning. So I work with our performance committee, so I work with our geneticist and stuff like that with the breed as well. So I love to listen to what they have to say and know that, if we stop learning, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's on you. I mean, if you've stopped learning, then that's on you. That's not on somebody else. And if you can teach somebody that, I mean, I feel like you need to teach somebody that, because somebody else has got to carry that on. We're not always going to be here.
Right.
You got to have the patience that person was standing there and they asked that question. You know, they may have never had to ask a question that seems so kind of obvious. So you got to have that patience to understand they didn't ask it with this dumbfounded face.
Right.
If they didn't need to ask the question, then that's a lot of it, you know?
Well, and I mean, to me, there's no stupid question.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you may think, boy, that's really, how can somebody not know that? But I mean, it's still not a stupid question, because if they don't know it, then teach them.
Yeah. The stupid thing's not asking the question in some cases. So we do, yeah, we appreciate it. And again, that's why Ag Lens exists. That's why so much ag education's done. That's why so many of our farm markets out there and local farmers, they do things all the time to try to educate. You know, it's because of, again, a robust, you know, food supply and a well-done agriculture system, but also just people just don't know. But people want to know. And if they ask the question, you got to answer it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and, you know, you say that, I mean, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too. You know, we get in a hurry with something and we don't think about, we could stop for 10 minutes and take time to talk to somebody, and you know, they walk away with something from doing that. And like I said, I'm guilty about it sometimes. I mean, I go flying in the store and somebody's trying to get something, and maybe I'm a little short with them because I got something going on. But at the end of the day, I shouldn't be like that. I should be, you know, take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, you know, and explain to those people and try to teach them.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't hurt customer too. It sounds like somebody will probably come back to you once you get them. You teach them all this kind of thing. So,
well, I want to give you a chance here towards the end. We've talked about the store. We've talked about the meat. We've talked about all the things. So now they know places they can go and possibly get it. But talk to you how they can follow along. Do you guys have a website, a Facebook page? Is there, or is it best to just look them up and come to the store and see it for yourself?
So I have a Cedar Creek Farms Facebook page, and I have a Cedar Creek Beef Company Shepherdsville Facebook page.
Okay.
I don't maintain them. My girlfriend does, because I do all I can do with technology. So, and she does a pretty good job at it. Although she gets things and she's like, I don't know what to do with this. Just send it to me and I'll take care of it. But we work well together. I mean, I end up being the customer service side of that most days, but it's all good. We make it work. But so we've got that. We had a website and we've just pretty much took it down. During COVID, it was a real problem. Because we didn't want to take online orders. Part of that was because our inventory was changing so bad, and then we weren't always getting the emails. So we tried to shut that down, and we've kept it going up until this year, and we finally just let it go because it's just not, it's been more of a headache for us because we get customers say, well, we put this order in and it's not ready. Well, we didn't get the order. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And not always do people go in and look and see what's put on the website. So, but yeah, we pretty much do everything on Facebook, and so like I said, we've got the farm page and we do have the store page there.
Excellent. So, well, appreciate your service and just everything you do, and especially your interactions with the community. I think, you know, as a communicator, trying to help agriculture communicate, the people that are better at it are the farmers right there with people right there on their farm. It's just, we can make pretty videos all you want. It's hard to beat that, so we appreciate that. But again, appreciate your service, and thanks for coming in and being a part of our podcast.
Thank you all for having me.
All right. Thank you, Jewett, and thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and listen to some of those older episodes. And we'll see you next time on Let's Get Rural.